Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about how the month of March is going to fare for all of you according to what sign you are in accordance to your ascendant, which is the rising sign, and your moon sign. Now, I know people ask me all the time, what is the deal? Why don't you talk about the sun sign? Well, in Vedic astrology, truly the moon is more important than the sun. It actually is the planet that creates the entire cycle of the dashas. So we want to say that the Vedic system that I use, sidereal astrology, is a lunar-based system. It is so important to make reference to where your moon is. That is going to be what you're feeling. That is really important. And the ascendant is what sets up your whole chart. So when I look into accordance of where all your planets are, according to your ascendant, it places them all in the houses. So the sun is important, but really the most important reference point is the sun, is the moon, and the ascendant. Now, you have to know your Vedic signs. It is not okay to just be looking at this haphazardly and placing your Western sun sign in there. Stop it. It is going to be incorrect. So how do you know your Vedic signs? Well, if you don't have any idea, just go to my website, galacticcenter.org, and I have a free chart calculator. Click on that, put all your data in, and it will give you your sun, your moon. You got me saying sun all the time. No, your moon sign and your ascendant. And the way that you see that is once it comes up, please scroll to the very bottom, because do not try to read those charts. They are constructed entirely differently than what you think. So go to the bottom and just look for MO is the moon and AS is your ascendant. Those are the two signs for you to listen to today. All right, so now that you have that, let's continue on and let's talk about what the month of March is going to bring for you in accordance to if your moon or your ascendant sits in the sign of Aries. And what that is going to bring you is going to be a lot of changes. I see changes galore. Now, one thing I do want you to realize is maybe the people that you thought were your friends are not your friends. Be aware of this, because Saturn and Mars are going to be transiting your 11th house, which is the house of connections and friends and groups and organizations. And these two stark, raving, malefic planets can make your friends turn on you or argue with you and surprise you. And you're going to find that there will be some endings with some friendships. Now, if you have an older sibling, this can also refer to the oldest sibling, because that's an 11th house matter as well. But to put these two malefics in the 11th house will give you incredible strength to pursue and overcome obstacles. So that is a really good thing. Now, Rahu is in your 12th house. You might be traveling to some foreign places or countries. And really, the 12th house can bring out so many things from your past that you didn't know about, because essentially these eclipse patterns are happening in your 12th and in your 6th house. But more than anything, I do want you to pay attention to your health this month in particular, in the second part of the month, because K2 around the lunar eclipse time, around the 24th, is going to be with the moon in your 6th house, which will make your immune system weaker. And even Rahu in the 12th can cause you to have to lay low. And even you might even find that you might be dealing with other people's sicknesses, maybe visiting a hospital per se for others. But take care of your health. Watch what you're doing, what you're eating. Exercise, get fresh air, and most of all, get some sleep and some rest, because I know you're struggling with sleeping these days. That will definitely make you sick if you don't get enough sleep. So take care of your health this month, and be aware that friends and maybe people that you thought were your friends may not be as good of friends as you thought. And look after your older sibling. If your moon or your ascendant sits in the sign of Taurus, then you're going to find that the Mars-Saturn conjunction is in your 10th house. And actually, this can promote you to a higher level through hard work and diligence in the workplace. This can give you a promotion. But one thing you do need to look after is the fact that these two malefics in your 10th house of your career and your work could make your boss a little jealous or somehow not happy with you. So be aware in the workplace that there could be some things coming down that you didn't expect, arguments or anger, but all at the same time, you're striving to go to the next level in the workplace. And chances are, through discipline and hard work, you will excel there. But be cautious that your boss or people you work with, you don't ruffle their feathers or make them feel insecure around you. You've got to watch that. Now, Rahu is in your 11th house. And this pretty much will make influential people come into your life. Be aware that there's people of influence that will come into your life, and many friends and connections that you might be needing. Yes. So this is very important that you know this. And the other thing is K2 will be in your 5th house, which is actually the house that deals with children, but most of all creativity. So you're going to have some amazing off the charts ideas for business, for creative projects and new beginnings. Use them, but it's not necessarily a good time for you to go into investments, because K2 can indicate losses, and it's in the 5th house of investments. And if you have children, take a more careful look and be prepared that they need more of your attention during this time. So creative projects are great, but all at the same time, lay low from investing or investments, and make sure you have your eye on your children if you have children. So if your moon or your ascendant sit in the sign of Gemini, then you're going to find that this is the time that career opportunities will really, really come to the forefront, because Rahu is in your 10th house. And this is the time of career expansion in a big way. You may get noticed by other people or have just an opportunity that's going to take you to the next level. Now, K2 is in your 4th house, so be aware there can be some problems around the home with maybe appliances breaking, or just problems with maybe flooding, or just things breaking down in the house. Be aware of that. But another thing that this could indicate is you won't be at home very much at all. So that's probably what this is about. Maybe you're traveling, maybe you're working, but you won't be home as much. There's kind of a loss around the home place. And if your mother's still around, be aware that this is a time that you must make sure she's doing okay. Make sure she's seeing the doctor. If anything's bothering her, just don't take it lightly. Take it seriously and look after your mother. Now, the Saturn-Mars conjunction will be in your 9th house, which is the house that deals with your beliefs, your spiritual truths. And you're going to find that things are being tested quite a lot with what you believe. Maybe you're having a big change of heart or mind about something that you believed for a very long time. There's a breakdown in your belief patterns, but a new awakening. Now, if your father's still alive, you're going to find that there's going to be problems with your father. So it looks like The mother, the father, take care of them. Look after them if they're still around. There's going to be some problems. Maybe it's just disagreements with them, particularly with the father. Disagreements, not coming together on thought, and there's just obstacles in the way of possibly you and he thinking from a different vantage point. So that's important for you to be aware of. If your moon sign or your ascendant sits in the sign of Cancer, then this means that the Mars-Saturn conjunction are in your 8th house. This is a very difficult house. This might bring up things, and even things from the past that you are unaware of, that are very unpleasant, but you got to deal with them. It's a psychological process that can have a great healing. But be aware, if anyone you know is not doing well, check on them, because there could be some instances of death around you with this incredibly harsh aspect. But just you remember, things can be averted. That's why I'm telling you this. So be aware that there's things that you have to really look deeply into, because the 8th house deals with things of the past. And there's something harsh that maybe you have to awaken to that will change the way you view others in the world psychologically. It is a time of healing. Now, Rahu is in your 9th house, and this can mean a new philosophy, a new class, new healing. And Ketu's in the 3rd. There's something you're passionate about, understanding and learning. There's going to be more reading, more gathering information, research to find your answers. Rahu in the 9th could also cause some issues around your dad if he's still around. And just look out, maybe it could even mean that there's just a big change for him, and it's not altogether that bad. But with K2 in your 3rd, you'll find a disconnect or maybe miscommunications with siblings if you have siblings. So that's a time that you've got to let go of being totally opinionated about things with them. Let it go. So if your moon or your ascendant is in Leo, then this means Rahu's in your 8th house, which means some money can be coming to you through other people, unearned means. Maybe it is an insurance policy, maybe it's a settlement of some sort, or maybe it's an inheritance, but money will come to you through other people in some respect. K2's in the 2nd house. Watch your spending. Don't over exceed your limits. Pull back and be serious about this. Now, the other thing is there could be some issues around the family and your family of origin, your parents, your family, and maybe your own family. Take it easy. Don't be contentious. There could be just something that changes radically in the family unit. Be aware of that. This is important. And another thing, please be careful of your eating habits. What you're eating is important to you. You could be taking in things that are causing you harm. Maybe you're even allergic to and you're unaware. Another thing is be careful of your speech. And chances are you really don't feel like talking too much. You feel like holding in more information. But it is time to be careful about what you say. Now, the Mars and Saturn are going to be in your 7th house. So this means contentious partners. Relationships are difficult. You'll find your partner becomes more angry at you and attacks you for no reason. Lay low. Just wait till this time period's over with. Don't say things you do not mean, just as a rebuttal. Be careful. Relationships are really difficult. You're walking on thin ice in a relationship at this time. If your moon or your ascendant sits in Virgo, then this means that transiting Rahu's been in your 1st house, but this eclipse is occurring in your 7th house. This does mean problems with relationships. Be aware. that what you say and what you do are monumental in how things occur and how things translate and come about with your relationships. You must be cautious and aware. And another thing is there could be a loss in relationships, and maybe it's not even your relationship per se. It could be that your partner is going through a really, really difficult time. Be aware of the changes they're going through and be healing and helpful through their difficulties. Now, the Mars and Saturn are in your 6th house, and this can cause some major issues in the area of your health. Be health conscious, exercise, but don't overdo it because there could be a point where you could injure yourself as well. Now, the 6th house is also your work conduct in the workplace. So be careful because chances are the people you work with are not going to be very agreeable. They'll be confrontational and very difficult. Be aware that this is going to be the place. But there could even be arguments or disagreements around your workplace. Be aware. If you have pets, be aware that if they're ill, they could have major problems or accidents to your pets. Make sure you keep them on a leash and you watch them. This is critical. If your moon or your ascendant sits in Libra, then this means that Rahu is in your 6th house, meaning you're working harder than ever, and Ketu's in the 12th house. But all in all, you must be cautious of your health during this time. Ketu in the 12th house could mean that you could be visiting people in the hospital, or it could just simply mean you're having a lot of trouble with your sleep. But one thing I want you to pay attention to is when you do get to sleep, pay attention to your dreams, because you're going to find you have some very vivid and almost prophetic, yes, prophetic dreams where you will get information that is very valuable about your future. Now with Rahu in the 6th house as well, be careful around the workplace that you're not stepping on other people's toes. Be more appreciative and be more careful about how you're treating others and or your employees in the workplace. Now the Mars and Saturn are conjunct in your 5th house. The 5th house is the house that deals with children. If you have children, give them more attention. They need your undivided attention. They might be acting out, causing problems because this is what they need. Another thing is don't invest this month. You will be hit with harsh expenses and problems. And another thing about the 5th house with Mars and Saturn, you might be very frustrated with your mind, your thinking process, and what you're trying to complete on a creative level. Be cautious and be aware of what you're doing. But it could be a time of coming together with writing, getting some work done in the area of the written word. Now, if your ascendant or your moon sign sits in Scorpio, then your Rahu is in the 5th house. The 5th house is the house of creativity and talent. I want to say too, you will find your mind obsesses over things. Calm down. What you're obsessing over is not as important as you think. Another thing is, it seems like you're obsessing about things and you can't stop. Do some mantra work. Do some affirmation work. Start saying things over and over that counteract what you're trying to not think about. Now with Ketu in the 11th house, you might find that some of your friends disappear, or you feel like you don't have any friends right now. And maybe you just don't have time for friends, but you're not really connected to people right now. And or you could even have some very unusual friends come into your life that are considered very different or kind of outcasts in society in a way. Very different. Now, if you have an older sibling, you'll find there's a disconnect with them this month as well, and on into April. Now, your Mars and Saturn will be in your 4th house. This can cause some disruption in your home. Be aware, make sure you have your insurance policies active, because there can be breakage in the home. You could have floods, you could have appliances break down. There's going to be issues here. Now, another thing that I want you to be aware of is you are definitely wanting to move, to get out, to get to a different place. Things are not how you like them in your home. Maybe it's a time to redecorate, or maybe it's time for you to renovate your home. This could be a time when things get torn up and you're in the process of renovation. So this is important to know. If your mother's still around, check on her. There can be something come about, like an accident or something that is preventable, speaking of your mother. Now, if your ascendant or your moon sign sits in Sagittarius, then Rahu's in the 4th house. And you might be wanting to move or buy another property, some real estate investment. This is a good time to do so. And another thing, if your mother's still around, check on her. Rahu's intense. She may need someone to talk to. Now, Ketu's in your 10th house. I know that you are not quite happy with your work. Your work is about to change. Or maybe your company's being bought over or taken over, or maybe you change bosses. Be aware of that. Something big is happening there. Now, all at the same time, your Mars and Saturn are in the 3rd house. This can disrupt travel plans. Be cautious when you're traveling. Do not exceed the speed limit and be focused on your driving. Otherwise, this could cause some accidents if you're not careful. Also, if you have siblings, brother or sister, then you're going to know that this is a time you'll probably won't agree on things. So, keep cool and collective when you deal with your brother or your sister if you have siblings. Now, this can also mean if you're in school or you have some classes, things will get a little tough. There may be some problems in school or with the teacher. Be aware, this is going to get a little tougher. You're going to have to put your best foot forward to try a little harder. And another thing is, if you are communicating through writing or things like that, be careful before you send those emails. It may not be on the up and up what you wanted to say, and people could misunderstand you. So if your moon sign or your ascendant sits in Capricorn, then Rahu's in your 3rd house. And this is a time of writing and communication skills. Things just seem to really come out better. You're intense, you're well-intentioned and expressive. But if you have any siblings, brother or sister, you may be having a little bit of issues with them, or maybe they're having issues with their own life. Now, Ketu is in your 9th house, and the 9th house deals with the father. If your father's still around, please make sure they keep on top of their medical checkups, keeping healthy, because K2 could be losses in this area, but it just might mean they're having a difficult time. Maybe it's time for them to retire or something to that effect. And another thing is you're really questing over some spiritual knowledge, information. You really, truly want to explore the spiritual realm and understand more things. Sign up for some classes or courses along these lines. Metaphysics. The Mars-Saturn conjunction is going to be in your 2nd house. Be aware of your spending. You could be overspending. Don't be impulsive with your spending, or you may have buyer's remorse. Now, another thing is maybe you're struggling a little bit to pay the bills. You got to start thinking in alignment of other ways to make money. Now, with this also, the second house deals with family matters. There can be some discord within the family, maybe with your parents, siblings, or even in your own family. There can be some difficulties in getting along or coming together. Maybe there's money matters that need to be ironed out and straightened out with the family. Okay, so if your ascendant or your moon sign sits in Aquarius, then we're looking at Rahu in your second. This can bring you income. This can bring you more wealth, expansion with money. But be aware there can be a little bit of discord with people in your family, because Rahu is problematic. There's too many extremes, and maybe they are not being forthcoming with how they're spending money or how they're relating with you. So that puts Ketu in the 8th house, and money shared with others will be difficult. You may find that people aren't coming forth with the money that they owe you, and that's difficult. Even in your marriage, be aware of the money that maybe your partner's withholding or not being generous with. Now, Ketu in the 8th house will make you very deep, philosophical, metaphysical, really come to want to understand the workings of the universe, why you're here. And it's also a time that you will be more intuitive, have more gut knowing and feelings, and maybe even study more about psychology and what you're here to learn about yourself. Now, the Mars, Saturn are in your 1st house, and that can make you accident prone. So be cautious. Don't be in a hurry. Don't be impulsive. Don't be impatient. Take your time in knowing and doing things and when you're going places. Otherwise, you could have a mishap. And this is totally preventable if you are very careful. And you might be just frustrated with the way things are going in your life. Realize this is temporary and it won't last. So if your moon sign or your ascendant sits in Pisces, then I want you to know you're going through a major transformation personally. You're changing a lot about yourself, even the way you look or the way you feel, maybe the way you dress or your hair or your makeup, your clothing. Things are changing. Now, maybe it's changing on account that relationships are really a struggle. Why? Because the eclipse is really happening in your 7th house of relationships. So maybe there's something that comes out of the dark that you didn't know about your partner. And this can cause some insecurity. All at the same time, if it's not about your relationship, it could mean your partner's going through a rough patch. Things are not easy for them. Be compassionate. Be understanding. They need your help. Now, this puts the Mars and Saturn in your 12th house. The 12th house deals with things you can't see or know. So maybe some secrets are coming out about the past in your life. This can be healing. You could heal your past through this understanding, but it is very difficult. And I do want you to be careful at the workplace. Don't participate in gossip and what's going on around. Otherwise, you're going to be sucked into a hole and things will be blamed on you. So keep quiet about things in the workplace and realize people are probably talking around behind your back. Backstabbers are prevalent in the workplace when you've got planets in the 12th house, and these are two hardcore malefics coming together. So Mars and Saturn in the 12th house, because the 12th house rules hospitals, you might find that you're visiting someone in the hospital. Not that this is anything horrible, but it is just you will probably have more time spent towards places like hospitals during this month and next month. And last but not least, you will find that it's very difficult for you to sleep during this time. So do whatever you can to get the rest, because this can also cause health issues if you're not getting the necessary rest that you need. There's probably a reason. You're probably worried about something. Take care of yourself during this time. And yes, it is a time of deep reflection to really get to know yourself and understand where you're coming from. So with that, that covers all 12 signs of the zodiac. And remember, if this has inspired you to want to learn Vedic astrology, go to my university website, which is universityofvedicastrology.com. And don't forget, if you want to learn more about me, go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. Sign up for my free newsletter and become part of my Patreon page. We will be connected. Thank you.